He never thought of himself as a controlling person. He told himself he was just careful, just someone who liked things to be clear. But deep inside, control was not about clarity. It was about fear. Fear of losing people. Fear of being hurt again. Fear of standing helpless while life decided his fate without asking him. Psychology explains that the human brain craves predictability more than happiness. When life becomes uncertain, the nervous system does not ask logical questions. It asks only one thing: am I safe? And when the answer feels unclear, control becomes a substitute for safety. Not because it works, but because it feels like it does. As a child, he learned early that emotions were dangerous. When he cried, no one listened. When he spoke, he was misunderstood. Silence became normal, and unpredictability became terrifying. His brain adapted. It learned that if he stayed alert, if he controlled his reactions, if he stayed one step ahead, pain could be avoided. This is how control is born, not from strength, but from survival. Psychology calls this a learned defense mechanism. The brain doesn't choose it consciously. It builds it quietly, layer by layer. Every time safety is taken away too soon. As an adult, this showed up in small ways. He needed quick replies. He needed reassurance. He needed to know where things were going. Uncertainty made his chest tighten. Silence made his mind spiral. So he asked questions. He planned conversations. He rehearsed outcomes. Not because he wanted power, but because not knowing felt unbearable. Control, in human behavior, often looks like confidence from the outside. But on the inside, it is exhaustion, a constant state of alertness, a nervous system that never fully rests. The sad truth is this: people who control the most are often the ones who trust the least, not because they are cruel, but because they learned early that letting go hurts. Psychology tells us that most controlling behavior has roots in unprocessed emotional pain. Trauma does not always come from loud abuse or dramatic events. Sometimes, trauma comes from what never happened, from comfort that never arrived, from reassurance that was always delayed, from love that felt conditional. When a child grows up in emotional uncertainty, their brain develops hypervigilance. They learn to scan for danger even when none is visible. This is not weakness. It is adaptation. The brain is doing what it was designed to do: protect. Years later, that same brain still reacts as if danger is near. A delayed message feels like rejection. A change in tone feels like abandonment. A lack of control feels like falling back into the helplessness of the past. So the adult tries to control the present to avoid reliving the past. This is why some people need to know everything. Why they struggle with ambiguity. Why they become anxious when things are undefined. Psychology explains this as an attempt to regulate internal chaos by managing the external world, but control has a hidden cost. It slowly disconnects people from their emotions. Instead of feeling pain, they manage it. Instead of expressing fear, they mask it. Over time, control becomes a cage. Safe, but lonely. The saddest part is that many controlling people don't realize they are protecting old wounds. They believe something is wrong with others. They believe the world is unreliable. But the truth is simpler and heavier. Their nervous system never learned what safety feels like. Human behavior is not random. Every reaction carries history. Every controlling impulse carries a memory. And until that memory is acknowledged, control feels like the only option, even when it destroys connection. Nothing triggers control like emotional closeness. Relationships activate the deepest parts of the brain, the parts shaped by early attachment. When someone gets close, the nervous system doesn't just feel love. It also remembers loss. This is why people sometimes pull away when relationships deepen. Psychology calls this an attachment response. The closer the bond, the greater the perceived risk. Control enters as a way to manage that risk. Some people control by questioning. Some control by distancing. Some control by silence. The silent treatment is one of the most misunderstood behaviors in psychology. It is often seen as manipulation, but in many cases, it is emotional shutdown. A person becomes silent not to punish, but to protect themselves from feelings they don't know how to handle. In relationships, control often replaces vulnerability. Saying, "I need you" feels dangerous. Saying, "I'm afraid to lose you" feels risky. So instead, people create distance, power shifts, or emotional walls. Control becomes a language for emotions they were never taught to speak. This creates a painful cycle. The more one person controls, the more the other feels suffocated. The more the other pulls away, the stronger the controlling behavior becomes. Both people are reacting to fear, but in opposite directions. Psychology reminds us that love requires uncertainty. You cannot fully control something that is alive and emotional. And when control becomes more important than connection, relationships slowly die, not from lack of love, but from lack of safety. Control promises peace, but delivers tension. The illusion of control convinces the brain that everything is manageable, but reality eventually breaks that illusion. People change. Situations shift. Life refuses to be predictable. When control fails, the emotional crash is heavy. Anxiety increases. Self-blame appears. If only I had done more. If only I had seen it coming. This is the painful paradox of control. The more you rely on it, the harder it hurts when it disappears. Psychology explains that true calm does not come from controlling outcomes. It comes from trusting oneself to handle outcomes. But for someone who never felt emotionally supported, self-trust feels unfamiliar. Many controlling individuals live with quiet sadness. They are always prepared, always alert, always managing, but rarely at peace. Their minds are busy, but their hearts are tired. Control disconnects people from the present moment. They are always planning the next step, preventing the next pain. Joy becomes secondary. Spontaneity feels unsafe. Life becomes something to manage, not experience. This is not a moral failure. It is a nervous system stuck in survival mode. Healing does not mean giving up control overnight. Psychology does not ask people to feel safe instantly. It asks them to build safety slowly, inside themselves. Healthy control is internal. It is the ability to regulate emotions without forcing outcomes. It is setting boundaries instead of building walls. It is choosing self-awareness over self-protection. When a person learns that emotions can be felt without destroying them, control slowly loosens its grip. When the nervous system learns that uncertainty is uncomfortable but not fatal, fear softens. The most powerful realization in psychology is this: you don't need to control life to survive it. You need to trust yourself enough to face it. People who once felt powerless often become the strongest healers when they learn to release what once protected them. Control was never the enemy. It was a signal that safety was missing. And healing begins when safety is finally found within.